Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
And we're on.
I gotta go. Hold on.
Okay. So, for those of you just now tuning in, which I know is so many of you, welcome to the Terramundi podcast. It's been a little bit. We took last week off. We both had stuff going on. I've been dealing with home repairs. Corey's been kind of preoccupied with his job. I've also been preparing music to start up a new tabletop campaign. So the whole thing has been kind of a whirlwind. We're back now in full swing, and we should be back now with a slightly later regular time. We're going to start shooting for 7 o'clock. Oh my god, Coco.
Hold on.
Oh, baby.
Watch this. Watch me try to close these keys.
Oh, hang on, wait. Let me get this. Okay. Is that real? Oh my god, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really not good.
I know.
You really need to go see a doctor.
I'm aware.
Everybody start a fundraiser so that Corey can go see.
I have health insurance.
Yeah, I know, but you need some kind of public motivation / shaming so you don't fucking...
Listen, I got big plans. When this hand gets ruined, I will have a fucking cyborg hand.
That is how that will work. That is what will happen.
I have a fear of amputation.
Then why the fuck? Nope. You know what? Not my place to say.
It's a serious fear.
I'm happy for you.
Not me. What's up?
Yeah, so like I was saying, we are now back with a slightly later time slot. I got a new job, and so we're probably going to be starting a little bit later, closer to like 6:30 or 7. Streams are going to go for like our standard kind of hour, maybe hour and a half, just depending on sort of
how jazzed we are.
Yeah, depending on how jazzed we are about what we're doing.
Because we say an hour and a half, but like I've seen us go 2.5 hours.
Oh yeah, no. Well, and I mean, I want to say that like our first couple sessions with Adam doing doing The Quiet Year.
There you go. Bye. Who's it by?
I mean, huh?
Who's it by?
Oh, I never knew that one.
Avery Alder!
Avery Alder. Yeah, I hear the name all the time. It goes in one ear and out the other. Which, by the way, it was such a fun fucking time. Adam, if you do find yourself watching this stream, I miss you already. I very much look forward to whenever we do like our next little city building retreat. But for now, though, we're back to this monster document. And Corey, what are we doing today?
Okay. We're destroying things.
Cool.
Well, and I've been thinking about it, like, we could probably do both or talk about both, but, like, if we're going to do Caravan next and then presume, or do the actual character sheet, because the next one might be us making a character sheet, we gotta figure that out before we do that. I did want to take a quick sojourn away from tabletop for just a minute to talk about something that's very near and dear to my heart. I went to the bookstore the other day, and I picked up a book that I had no idea who the author was. I had no idea what the plot was. I knew it was science fiction, because that's how homie goes.
That's just kind of par for the course.
I think I have found my favorite book that I've ever read in my entire fucking life. I've been reading for about 2 days.
I thought you meant like total, and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Oh yeah, no. I was basically illiterate until like 4th grade, but that's neither here nor there.
I was illiterate from like it was like 13 until I was like 19 or 20, so I totally feel you.
How are you illiterate in the middle?
I read Lord of the Rings and I finished it, and then I was like, I'm never reading it.
Oh no, I mean I couldn't read until like 4th grade.
Legit, like unable to read.
Like pretty much, like 1st grade reading level. Yeah.
Damn, boy.
It's called Children of Time. It's by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This is my favorite kind of science fiction, in that it is like expansive far fiction that spans like many generations, and I don't know what genre that is. It's very human, I guess. But like Dune does this, the Oki novels, Cities in Flight by James Blish does this, Foundation does this kind of thing. And those are my favorite kinds of science fiction. I cannot put this fucking book down, dude. And I just think everyone should read it. And I just wanted to get that out front, because nobody's fucking read it around me, and I have nobody to talk about with it, and I'm losing my mind. So, if you have read this book, hit your boy up.
Hell yeah. Well, so you heard it here. Terramundi Game Studios officially endorses Children of Time by, what's the author's name?
Adrian Tchaikovsky.
Adrian Tchaikovsky. Very well done, apparently.
It's fucking dope. It's fucking sick.
Yeah, but I have full faith in Corey's taste. He has impeccable taste in books and literature and all forms of media. So
I will just say,
as it's good.
It is as if H.R. Geiger did the set design for Event Horizon, and then instead of making that movie, they made Arachnophobia meets 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh, fuck no, there's space spiders in this?
Oh, yeah, there are!
Oh, boy, no, I'm sorry. I was going to offer to read it so you had somebody to talk with, but I can't do that shit.
You got to. They're the main characters.
They're the main characters? Absolutely not. I take it back. Children of Time is a mistake of literature.
Incorrect. It's the greatest book ever written. I'll fucking burn 1,000 Bibles.
My whole home is being overrun by giant, riding spiders called Joros. They're all over the South now, apparently. They're like a new endemic species from Asia. But, I cannot handle any more spiders in my fucking life.
This might make you come to peace with them.
It won't. I promise you it will not.
Well, they have a lot to say about gender inequality, so...
Oh, well.
Okay, so... destroying things we love.
Yeah, so we were talking in private, and Corey, it sounds like, broke a promise to me, because I'm pretty sure that when we set up our dice rolling system last, you assured me that we were going to get to at least a playtest with the existing dice rolling mechanics, and now come to find out we may be revisiting all of that?
We're really just removing a filter.
What do you mean?
The basic dice mechanic I don't think is going to change in any sustainable way.
Okay.
This is a conversation about game design in general. What we're doing here is going to be frustrating for a long time, and that we are going through iterations. Likely what we end up with after the first playthrough will be all of this gone and replaced with something else, and then we might come back to this. Who knows? It is chaotic. It is a disaster. Right. And interestingly enough, the thing that I want to destroy is what started it all. Well, so I think we have we have a lot going on, and the more we build this out, the bigger it is. And I think we have too many... We essentially have 2 attribute systems, and then a robust skill system.
Okay. How do we have 2 attribute systems?
Well, we have Biologica, Star Shatter, and Creatronics, and then from there we have the actual attributes, and then from there we have the skill system. But those first three, it feels superfluous. It feels like we have an extra set of attributes that we're going on, that we're traveling on, and
to be clear, I mean, as I have understood the mechanics as we've been going, we're not actually using Biologica, Creatronics, and Star Shatter for anything mechanically, correct?
No, it's explicitly written.
It's just been inspiration for everything that's come after.
No, it's explicitly written into the rules.
Is it?
Yeah. So if you go to character creation, we have a point system for buying ranks in it. We have additionally feats that we're going to associate with it, and then beyond that, under the actual rolling system, we combine your ranks for your attribute to your ranks for your core relevancies to the ranks for your skills. So there's like 3 different things that is going on. I suggest we remove one of them.
Okay. I'm looking at the dice mechanics. Core relevancies, attributes, ranks, skill is an evolving die.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I guess that is it right there. Core relevancies and attributes are both ranks.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in all honesty, then, this is actually a really easy fix for me. Like, attributes, I feel like, make a ton more sense. I always was kind of operating under the assumption that the core relevancy stuff was really just kind of a sort of a narrative in fiction justification for those things.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I always view it kind of the same way, at least in fiction, the way that, like, L5R actually does, like, the 5 rings. Like, in the same sense that, like, in that universe in Rokugan, everything is made of earth, fire, water, air, and void.
Yeah.
Everything in our universe is made of Biologica, Creatronics, and Star Shatter.
Yeah, and I think that, like, keep it, like, we've talked a bit just between you and I about, like, well, like, and I don't know if we've mentioned this, like, one of the principles of the game is, like, this idea of narrative crunch, like making a medium crunch system through a narrative lens. And I think that, like, relegating that to, because we've talked about a bit using a, like, tag system for things, like, sort of in the way that Powered by the Apocalypse games do this a lot, where they'll, like, give messy tag, things like that. Like, I think if we relegate those names to that tag system, we keep the narrative spirit of it in place without over convoluting things.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with that. Like, truth be told, I think that this actually, I probably would have raised this earlier if I had realized it in the moment.
Yeah.
Which is actually kind of frustrating for me, because I'm fairly certain I took those notes when we were setting up the system itself, so I don't know why I didn't catch it at that point. I must have missed something. But yeah, no, I think that this is actually a super easy fix.
Yeah,
I see no issue with just removing core relevancies out of the mechanics, making attributes into ranks, and skills into evolving die.
Yeah, I think it simplifies things. We don't really have to change our dice system at all. Like,
yeah,
it's a no-brainer for me. Like, although I will suggest, instead of, I was going to say keep it in there, can you just do a strike through?
Yeah, sure. Hang on one sec.
That way we just have, like, a record.
Got you.
Because, truth be told, maybe after we do a playtest, we come back and decide we want core relevancies instead of the attribute system. Like, who knows what the future is going to hold? Except for sentient spiders.
Except for sentient spiders. Gross.
Well...
Actually, no, I'm sorry. I need to go back to this. I'm actually convinced that half of the reason why I am afraid of spiders comes from the, like, 2000s or 90s Lost in Space. You remember that shit?
I was talking about this movie the other day and how much I loved it.
Dude, it's that.
I know what scene you're talking about.
No, that scene in the ship where they're getting chased by these fucking space spiders.
Yeah.
And like one of them bites like the bad scientist, and he like turns into like this like horrific mutant human spider hybrid. Dude, that is like a traumatic memory deep in my psyche. Like,
I just remember seeing it being like fucking sick.
oh, hell no.
Yeah, I don't know.
Disgusting.
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 You disgust me.
Cool. Well, I'm glad we figured that out then.
Okay.
Because that actually sounds like it was a much easier fix than what I was interpreting it via the chat.
Yeah. That's because,
okay.
And that's because I launch into Taylor at about fucking 10:30, 11 o'clock at night with these like fucking 5 or 6 paragraphs. Hey man, this is what I think we should.
I cannot stress this enough. I am old now. I go to bed at 10:30.
I fucking like wake up to send you this shit.
I'm laying in bed. I've already taken my melatonin. My eyelids are getting heavy, and I like read down at this thing, and it's just like this fucking treatise on dice mechanics. And I just type back, "Cool, let's talk about it on stream." And I don't do it to be mean, Corey.
I know. Hey.
I just don't know what you're talking
and
about.
I don't mean to use you as a I don't mean to use our conversation as a notation device, but so is the world, Taylor.
Well, and so is the world, but also it is handy to have it like the following day when I can try and sift through your hieroglyphs and make some sense of this. But yeah, no, I think that I mean it's fine. It's fine.
I mean, it's like I got a little pocket notebook and I have lunatic papers too, and you're just getting pulled into my fucking journal.
Right. No, one sec. I'm actually going to test the audio on the stream real quick.
Oh.
No, one sec. I'm actually going to... Okay, cool. We're good.
Oh, yeah. We don't want to lose that.
Yeah, I realized I hadn't checked it since we started, but we're good. Okay, cool. Well then, if that's the case, so first order of business is kind of taken care of. We've sort of revamped our dice mechanics, streamlined it a little bit.
Actually, we should go through the, let's go to the character creation and remove any mention of that as well.
Okay, sure. Hang on one sec.
Where is...
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. Core relevancy ranked 1 through 5. So let's do a strike through on that.
Ooh.
Oh, that's right, because we made...
Yeah.
Oh, for every species, yeah, we had like a rank in core relevancy. Okay.
Yeah, and also for the, shit. Okay, this might be bigger than we thought. Because it's also for the histories, and I'm betting it's for the provinces, too. Yep.
Okay, here's the thing. I still don't think that means we can't do it.
Yeah.
It just means I need to strike through a little bit more than I thought I did.
Yep. Maybe this will have unintended good consequences. Or bad ones, and we'll find out.
That is the beauty of what we do. I want to know how long it took Gary Gygax to come up with the basic idea of Dungeons and Dragons and how those mechanics worked.
Well, so I think probably a long time, because role-playing games had never existed. So that probably in and of itself. But, I mean, like, old school D&D, before the advanced editions came out, were actually, like, more simplified. Like OSR. OSR is like it's not rule. I mean, it's rules light, I guess, in that there's more leeway for a GM to interpret things.
Yeah.
But like then you get to like advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and like they start pulling in like the math matrices that they were using like in house into the actual game, like THACO. Like so THACO is 2-hit and AC 0, and it's based off of like the level of the attacker as well as it's been a minute since I played. The level of the person hitting and the level of the person being hit and what their AC is, and you have to like roll the difference to create a 0. So it's like this, in order to hit, you have to hit within this range. So it's this like matrix table. I mean, it's why they went to a descending armor class with Dungeons and Dragons 3. It's fucking... you know what, Will, actually, you and I will play a game, a one-shot in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd edition.
Like, I'm not joking. I'm actually really intrigued by, like, as somebody who came on, you know, within, like, the last 5 years with the whole, like, renaissance that, you know, tabletop games are experiencing right now. I don't know. Like, I'm interested. I don't know if I'd be interested in playing a whole campaign.
Yeah.
In like the older stuff, but man, I'm really interested in doing like a one shot of it and just seeing like what seeing like the history of like where this thing came from.
I think some of it will be very familiar to you in this like Renaissance era, and some of it will be very foreign.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I've got all of the core competency stuff striked out. It's still there in case we end up needing it.
Yeah,
but,
I'm gonna highlight crab.
Yeah, go ahead and just put it in all caps and bold and underline.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna erase everything else.
Yeah.
There we go.
There we go. Perfect.
It is a 3-line RPG. It just says crab, all 3, baby, and then rip fat clouds.
Yeah, I don't get what's confusing about that.
So what do?
Why do you need to ask me that?
Now roll your crab die. All of the sides are just crabs.
All of them are crabs. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so... Now that we're done dicking around, let's... So I launched into you with a diatribe on... I've been thinking about this system for a long time. And it's a tough nut to crack, isn't it? And actually, where are we going to put this bad boy? Because you're going to have to...
We actually have a section titled Caravan Dice Mechanics.
Alright, yeah, Caravan Dice Mechanics, yeah! Okay, so I'm just gonna, like, read what I wrote to you, and we can start with that. Because I think that this, even if this system isn't, like, the final system that we decide on in this iteration, I think that, it's nice. It has a lot to it that I want to at least approach the Caravan system with. Oh boy, I did send you a lot. Okay.
You did.
So what if we had like a simplified array of stats, unlike our attribute system as it exists? We have community, presence, purpose, and arms. Should we do those actually in
bulleted?
Yeah, just because it's going to be easy for me to see with my dumb eyes.
Okay, give me those one more time.
Yep, community, presence, purpose, and arms.
Okay.
So, like, this is something we've been talking about with the idea of, like, building your caravan should be a unique experience, and everyone's caravan should, like, how they approach the city that they're going to, how they approach the person that they're broaching this contract from should be different. And, like, this murderous rampage fucking caravan would be very different from, like, antiquarians who go through with a careful touch. Right. And then, like, we touch on community, maybe community's derived stats, something like that. But, like, these are, just an idea I had. And these are derived by each player picking an attribute or skill to effectively join with that stat.
Okay, sec. So, picking an attribute at character creation, I'm guessing?
Yeah. Attribute or skill, either one works. I don't know which one we decide on, but...
Okay, so which of these four stats they bring to the caravan?
Yeah.
Do I have that written down? Does that accurately represent what you're thinking?
Yeah. They'll join it. They'll join it basically. So, like, the community presence, purpose, and arms will all start with, like, a base level, like a 0. And then you'll join your rank level or whatever with that base.
Okay.
And that's on your choice. Now, the first thing you'd think is like, well, then I'm just going to pick my highest and throw it at the one I like. Except, and this is where we get into the narrative crunch side of things, we will create a system where each attribute or skill, and maybe this is why I'm leaning towards attribute, has a tag to it, which would be domineering.
Okay, one sec.
Yep.
So wait, so to be clear, under each of these things, like community presence and purpose, they all have a subheading with these different qualities to them? Actually,
your player, on your character sheet, like, your attributes would have an association with one of these. So, like, brutality would have the domineering tag.
Oh, okay.
So this is... The purpose of this is, and let me finish explaining this.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you join that attribute to the base level of your caravan, it now has this tag association with it. So yeah, I wanted to join my brutality attribute to purpose, and what that does is that means that your purpose now has the number, which would be high, because you're like, oh, I want to pick my high skill. But it also means that it has the tag domineering. So now, whatever you have as a purpose for your caravan is a domineering purpose. Like, and that will, as we've talked about with feats before, how feats will have prerequisites. Well, like, only certain feats will be open to the purpose attribute that you can take with that domineering tag. So, like, say that...
Wouldn't it make more... I mean, what's to stop a player from just saying, like, well, I'm just going to use my brutality for arms?
But nothing. They can totally do that. Okay. And they should be able to do that. But that's going to have, first off, narrative consequences. You're only going to be able, in your arms position, take feats that have the domineering focus on them. So, like, say there's a feat with furtive on the arms tag that gives you, like, some sneaky backstabbing thing that your caravan can do. That would be closed off to you because you wouldn't have that tag associated with that caravan attribute.
Okay, and the tags that you're talking about, those would be associated, like, those are just generated by the GM and by the player upon character creation. That's not like we have a list of tags.
No, it would...
Like, here's what they mean.
It would be, we have a list of tags to associate with feats. So those would be, like, prerequisites. Basically, like, if you want, like, as we're drawing up all these feats that we have to make... We just create a matrix of tags that we stick on them.
Okay.
So it's an index system, basically.
So I have... Tell you what, actually, let's finish your idea.
Yeah.
I just got a thought. and we'll do mine afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the tags that the attribute tags I came up with were domineering, furtive, practical, or strange.
Here. Okay, so assign a narrative tag to these attributes, and let me get that one more time.
I had domineering, furtive, practical, or strange.
Purative, Puritive.
Sorry,
right?
furtive, like sneaky.
I actually don't know. I don't know that word. What is Furitive?
I think it is. Maybe it's an A. Hold on. Furtive. Yeah. Nope.
That's just switching over to figurative.
Hold on. Hold on. I'll figure it out.
Oh, Furtive, furtive.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, gotcha.
Internet.
Okay, what were the other ones?
Oh, practical or strange.
Okay, practical or strange.
And so, with that narrative tag combined with whatever the numeric value that the stat now has, that's like the prerequisite for feats that you can grab. So the idea here is, yes, everyone could throw in on arms with their attribute, and you'd have a very high arms score, which would, combined with the tag, maybe give you access to a lot of different feats. We got to find a better word than feat. Feats. But what that does mean is that you have nothing to do with your purpose. You have no access to feats with your purpose or your community, whatever. So, like, maybe upkeep is very expensive without certain upkeep feats, and that would be under community. Things like that, you know?
Okay. So if I understand this right, so you pick an attribute on character creation. Let's say, for example, I choose my skullduggery skill and I place that and I attach that to purpose. So what that means is that now the purpose of the caravan is skullduggery. It is to trick people. It is to get one over on people. Am I right in that?
Well, it would be that you would take that tag that is associated with skullduggery, which in this case probably furtive, right?
Right.
And then you'd attach that to your purpose. So yes, the purpose, we have a purpose that is furtive. And that would mean that the number, you'd have these two prerequisites to meet for feats for this. The numerical value of the attribute, say a 14, you need a 14 to have whatever backstab dealing, back alley dealing, which means that you can take unapproved contracts. But you need the furtive tag at least a 14 in purpose in order to take that feat.
Where are you getting like 14? I'm
just throwing out, like, my idea is that we have a basic number, like a 0. In Dungeons and Dragons, say you're 10 for your attribute skill.
Right.
Everything starts at that. Then you on character creation, you pick your skill and you add those ranks to that number. So now you have a 15 in that. And now any feat that has the prerequisite 15 and furtive, you can take that feat and throw it on, assuming, like, you can take one feat or whatever, or you can buy feats. That's the basic idea. And I wrote a little bit more. Hold on.
Okay.
The idea being that it sort of paints an image of what your caravan is, but also it makes it subject to change as you develop. Like, maybe certain people, like certain feats, don't vibe with things going on. maybe that's something we can definitely leave up to the GM's discretion, narrative device kind of thing. But the idea is that your caravan evolves and grows with your character. These feats change, these tags change, who you are as people and a community changes.
Let me ask you this then.
Okay.
So, because I think I'm getting the whole idea of associating these tags, but is there any kind of limit as far as what kind of a tag I can associate with a particular thing? So, like, an example might be community. Like, let's say I want to put my... let me look up my skills really quick here.
Yeah, we should just stick to attributes right now because I think we're going to start crossing streams.
Sorry, yeah, attributes. One sec. Where? Okay, here we go. Let's say I want to use. Let's say I want to use. Let's say I want to use adaptation. Okay, let's say I want to use adaptation for my community.
Yeah.
Right. And let's say I just decide I want to go ahead and put the evil tag on adaptation. So what does that mean as far as the community that I've picked? And here's the other question that we also need to answer. There's going to be anywhere between, like, 1 to maybe 5 other people at this table with me. Do they all have to deal with the evil community that I've just decided to throw onto the entire caravan?
So here's what I would say. First off, I don't think that the tag system. This is why we have to hard encode the tag system, because at least for this section, I think it's better if it's limited. We have a limited bank of tags to work with that we associate with
We will
hard encode those. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that answers question 1. Question 2 then is, what about the other players at the table?
So I think question 2... Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I mean, you already knew what I was going to say. It's just, if I throw something out on the table that everybody hates, I mean, am I railroading the caravan into something that I want that the rest of the table doesn't want? Is that just something that the table has to work out? How does that work?
This is something I think we get into, like, what we are trying to do with this game, which is we want to have a game about community building. So I think on the caravan development, this is like when you sit down with the group of players and be like, this is what we want to play together. This is not what I want to play. This is why we sit down and build this community as a community. It is by council. It is not by. It is not a domineering choice. And I think that's a great point. And like when we get into the writing of text on this thing, that's something we should explicitly state. Like, this is supposed to be where you sit down in your 0 session and talk about what kind of community do we want to play. Same as when we're playing Dungeons and Dragons, we talk about what kind of party we want to be. Because if we don't talk about that, then why would my fucking evil wizard work with your fucking lawful good paladin,
Sure. So I think that makes perfect sense.
Although I just started thinking about something too.
What?
Well, if we're using the attributes, I wonder if we even need to use... Because the attributes... Can you give me the attributes?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Attributes are holistics, tribalism, obfuscation, clockwork, logica, networks, adaptation, nebulae, and ferocity.
Maybe we don't need the tags and we just use the actual attribute name as the tag.
Okay, so see, this is kind of what I was thinking of as well. Is we can hard encode these tags and we can apply them to whatever skill we want. But honestly, I feel actually like
we already have a tag system.
Yeah, the tag system is already built in.
Yeah.
And if I can associate any one of the tags, even if we hard encode them, I feel like that isn't as narrative as we're wanting it to be. I feel like that's actually giving players an excuse to just take their highest dump stat or whatever it is and put whatever tag on it they want, you know? Like, it might actually be a better idea to use
the actual attribute names
of the attributes.
Actually, what I like about that more is, and I think maybe just we should strike this instead of, we should probably get in the habit of striking things.
Yeah.
What I like more about it too is something that I've been worried about the more we go along. It's just like, we've created these words that paint the sort of vibe of our game, and that's awesome. But we do have to make their use practical, and we have to make their use like understandable. And the more we enforce their use in gameplay, the more people are going to be apt to be like, "Oh, I got to roll obfuscation on this," because they know what their obfuscation stat is, you know. Instead of being like, "What the fuck does obfuscation do again?"
Right.
So actually, and it's the other thing where it's like, why overcomplicate the problem? We have a tag system in place. It does everything I said, but more robust.
So, do you think that's a pretty good assessment of what you're thinking of for like a stat array for Caravan and all that good stuff?
I think that the actual attribute array for the Caravan, like the arms, purpose, whatever, I think that works. I think that maybe we need to work on the idea of like on Caravan creation, maybe only one of these can be filled at a time. Only one player can fill one of these.
Okay. Instead
of like everybody being able to pile on one. Only because then it gives everyone kind of like I think we're missing one.
No, I'm actually working on something I had. This is my rambling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I'll show you in a minute. Go ahead and finish your thought.
Okay. I lost track of what I was saying. Oh, right. Because then, as we were talking about, do you want me to show this as you write it? Yeah, I will do that.
Yeah.
Everyone gets a like piece of the pie as we get through this community building, basically. So it feels like, hey, we all built this community, but this little egg is my little contribution to society, you know? So that's, I guess, my feeling on that I kind of got as I was saying it. And, yeah. That's all I got.
So let me walk you through, because I had kind of an idea that sort of builds off of yours.
Okay.
I think it might even be a way to make it even simpler. And it also kind of goes back to our whole initial talk about core competency and what is it there for. Because although it hasn't been something that's mechanically been used thus far in the game, because we struck it from just about everything, this might be a really good opportunity to maybe include elements of that.
Okay.
So here's what I'm thinking. So we start with your stat array minus presence or minus purpose. Either one, I feel like there's a ton there that overlaps, and you can very easily fit one of them into the other.
Okay.
And each of them, like you proposed, starts with a level of 0. Now, what if your Caravan, the stats in your Caravan, is actually determined by the finished character sheet of all of your players put together? So an example of this might be within let me get this pulled back up here. So within Biologica, for example, you have holistics, tribalism, and obfuscation. So at the end of character creation for the entire party, you take the combined skill ranks for all of your players at the table, and you slap that into one of those 3 spots as determined by the group, and that is the starting stat for the Caravan in that thing. And you do the same thing with all of the 3 attributes in Creatronics, and the same thing with the 3 attributes in Star Shatter.
Are you just talking about taking the numeric value of those and okay, go on.
Exactly. So like let's say at my table, Gary has between all 3 of those attributes, Gary has 2 levels between all of those 3. Shannon has 4 levels between those 3, and Max has 5 levels between those 3. So you take that 2, that 4, and that 5, and then you start with a level 11, which the group then decides, well, I think that what's most important here is our presence. So I want to make the 11 that we have for the Biologica region. I want that to be the 11 starting out, and you do the same thing for the other 2. What I think that this will do, and what I think maybe it will avoid the whole tag system, because it seems like we're running into some issues there. But what I think it will also do, and it will do really well, is I think that it will do a really good job of starting the players out with resources in front of them. Like you have an 11 in presence, you have a 8 in arms, and it will give them something that they can lose, right? Whether these are die types, whether these are die evolutions, whether these are whatever, this will be something that is a resource that the players start with. It gives them something to take care of, and hopefully, something that will bind them together a little bit more effectively as a party.
So are you saying take the Creatronics, the Star Shatter, the Biologica, and then derive numbers from those, and then those 3 numbers between your character sheets, you all pick which one goes into which of these 3? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Exactly.
So a couple things. I'm all about derived statistics. I'm a big fan of that in games. I like a crunchy game. So that's that kind of. I have a couple worries. Right off the bat, my worry is that we just removed these things. Now we're going to put them back in the game. I also think, on the plus side of it, I love the reintegration of them as a background numeric stat.
And that's more what I'm...
Right. And, I can see on the character sheet where it's your Biologica, as you're going through, you tally, and then you all add up and pick which one. Here's what I will say. I still like the idea of a tag system being based off the attributes. So how about this? You all then pick one attribute to tie the name of to community, presence, or arms. And that is the narrative presence of that stat.
Okay.
So you do the derived statistic, and you all decide which statistic you want. So I got a fucking 14 in presence. Okay, I would like to pick the presence attribute. Is that fine with everyone? Sure. Okay, I pick obfuscation as our presence. We are a conniving group of thieves. We move that kind of...
Sure. So we use the derived statistic in my version, and we use the tag system in your version, and we slam them together.
Yeah.
Tight. I fucking love that idea.
I love the background use of those things.
Well, and I think I feel like that's true to the spirit of what we initially created them with. I feel so dumb for not having noticed that we put those into the basic role mechanics. Because I remember when we were first making them, the whole idea was that, these are just going to be things that are in the background. They're going to help us sort of flesh out the rest of the world.
Yeah.
I think that that's what they're best used for.
I can totally see on the character sheet how to... and here's the thing where we're going to run into a little bit of difficulty, because I can see on the character sheet how you do it if you had a color character sheet, because you'd be like, okay, anything that's blue is Creatronics, anything that's green...
Exactly, yeah.
And so, each one of those skills has that background. If you're printing black and white, though, that's fucking not going to work. Which then we get into the trouble of now we have an extra tag that we have to write down on this shit, which is going to overcomplicate. And this is us getting into the actual visual look of things. Fuck, okay, cool, let's talk about that. Because,
well, that was one of the things we needed to talk about.
Yeah.
So
we could do a symbol.
Well, and so I actually had made this kind of very basic design that I think I showed you a really long time ago. That sort of was this like circular symbol, and you had these kind of inscriptions with the different names of them covering each section. I don't know, like I've had this idea in my mind of the character sheet actually being sort of circular, with like maybe your initial, like character name, health, armor, all of like the base essential core statistics in the center.
Yeah.
And then with your attributes sort of circling around it on the character sheet.
Yeah, I mean that could totally work. I think that's viable. I think we should develop I think a color or a symbol for each of these core relevancies, like a wrench for the Creatronics, a sun for Star Shatter, a frog.
I agree that a symbol for each is absolutely necessary, because you're right. It'll make perfect sense on the color sheets, but not everybody's going to have that.
Yeah,
you've got to make something there for.
Black and white printing, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're also going, and I'm fucking surprised you pitched the idea you did, because I've actually been staying away from derived statistics because I know your predilections are not towards what mine are. But you gave me this. Honestly, you gave me this perverse gift.
You have a lot of assumptions about what I know about my predilections, because I really don't.
You want to get deep and dirty in some math, because baby, that's what you just pitched. Because talking about derived statistics, it can't just be add up all these numbers. Like it's going to have to be a bit more fine-tuned than that to come up with a range of numbers that is, first off, appropriate for rolling with, second off, or spending. Like maybe those are your upkeep. Like this is where we get into the fucking nitty-gritty of fucking the Caravan system. Like, are these points that we spend, or are these just like attributes that can degrade with use or upgrade with?
So I see it as one of two things. I think it makes sense that either you have them represent die evolutions. We talked about how different resources would have like different die. So like let's say it's whatever die type your number is closest to rounded down. So for example, you have an 11 in presence. Well, that means that you have D10s, a certain number of D10s that relate to any kind of resources relating to presence. And let's say you have like a 9 or a 14 in arms. Well, that means that you go to a D12 when it comes to resources relating to arms.
Okay, I like that. Okay.
It still doesn't determine how many of those things you have.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is another question that we need to answer.
And I think if we're going to talk like derived statistics, I wonder if we can, because we talked about before like upkeep. So this is where we get into some complicated stuff. Like, are we going to be doing upkeep for these individual systems, or is it going to be like one upkeep score that is derived from all defeats you have and you have to pay that back, or is it
so this is I think the meat of the Caravan and what we need to decide about it. I like the idea of each of these things being like meters that you have to kind of juggle. I think that that's probably more narratively true, but I also don't want the Caravan... I want the Caravan to be present in the game. I don't want it to completely overwhelm the game.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that that's the only danger when you talk about those different meters.
Well, but I mean, at the same time, though, like, I don't want it to overwhelm either, but I think that, like, having the Caravan gives us a written downtime mechanic. Like, we now have hard encoded and in the rules of our game something that you have to deal with as downtime, like fucking straight up, and that is something that like a lot of games don't do.
Yeah, that's something our game offers that not a lot of other games.
A lot of games talk about, oh, you can do this downtime thing, but nobody's gonna make you do it. Like,
no, it's always optional with almost every game. With this one, if we set up the Caravan this way, it's going to be absolutely necessary.
Maybe
you have to upkeep your Tamagotchi.
Maybe if okay, and this is just a thought. Maybe there's an upkeep and a degradation score on each of these attributes.
Okay. That's even more that you have to worry about.
Well, no. Like, because we're going to have a character sheet anyways. This is your HP and your money, basically, on this character sheet. And we talked about before how you're going to have these die that you bring in with you, and if you actually end up rolling those die, you have to pay the upkeep with petty coin, or let it fall into disrepair, and then you can't use it. If we're going to use dice evolution, that is a very easy way to track which of these die we have rolled. Because all my d8s belong to my presence score. You know?
Oh, yeah, that's true, yeah.
So you get to count, so you get to count how many you are, and, like, maybe that number is the upkeep, like, each of these die evolution has an upkeep score associated with it. Well, I use fucking 8 of the d8s, and they all have an upkeep of 2, so I have to pay that. If I can't pay that, or what I can't pay, the difference goes into degradation. At a certain amount of degradation, you start losing fucking feats.
One sec here.
Yeah.
9 equals D8, 14 equals... okay, wait. So sorry. I need you to repeat what you said. I haven't been typing for a minute because I've been thinking.
Yeah. And these numbers, for folks, anyone watching, these are just numbers to represent. They are X and Y. Yeah, these are X's and Y's. They don't mean anything necessarily until we get into the nitty-gritty. Yeah. But basically, each of these each of these Caravan attributes will have a degradation and an upkeep score. So at the end of your vault peddling, during your downtime session, because you have to have your downtime session to deal with the Caravan resources, you take all that petty coin that you earned and the resources that you gathered and translate that to, okay, I know I spent, 8 of my d8s, so that is my presence score. My presence score as a d8 has an upkeep of 2. So I have to take from the money that I earned, pay that back, or take the difference and then subtract that from my degradation score, which could be represented like an HP pool. Like, it is 14 out of 14. Okay, I got a degradation of 6. Now we are fucking 8 out of 14 on this. And we have to pay that back, because once that reaches 0, we start to lose feats. Feats start getting pulled off our Caravan, which is represented by our blacksmith is fucking out of here. Our quartermaster said, no fucking way, dude. Like...
Okay. So, 1, 2 attributes. That's necessary. Allowing scores to go down to 0. means loss of feats and caravan resources.
Here's a weird rule, but I think could be a fun juggle that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Because the only way that could get complicated is if I have if presence and arms are both D8.
True, yeah.
Maybe no feat can represent, can be, no attribute can take up the same die type. So you have to start pulling things around. Like, fuck, okay. Is it worth me having more D6s in this, or a higher higher dice type and less of them? Because one of them's got to be the case. So you're forced to favor one.
Wait, can you explain that? Like, I mean, because if it's a derived attribute, and
that's a fair point. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that we just have to set a tie rule here. One of them goes up, one of them goes down. Right?
Yeah. Something like that. Maybe you get a bonus if you have to degrade one. I don't know.
Okay, so 1 second here. So if the... okay, so let's see here. So if the determined numbers equal the same die type, example, party gets a 9 in both Biologica and Electronics. So what that would mean normally is that they would both go down to a D8. Maybe we just make it so that one of them goes down and one of them goes up, right? Like,
well, I mean
that's the easiest way to resolve that.
Except you have cascading things. Like, what if I have a D12 already in one of them, and then I have two D8 or two D10s, and then so
one of them goes up.
Yeah, so it cascades. Maybe it's just the one that goes down. You get like an extra feat for, or you get to purchase an extra feat on character creation for, or.
So what you're saying though is that in the event you get those like 2 9s for those derived numbers, it basically means one of them becomes a D8 and one of them becomes a D6 with an additional feat.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of them goes down to the next available die type.
Yeah.
Plus an additional feat
for each level dropped. So like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because if you drop to a D4, I think it makes sense that, like, you know...
Yeah, you reward them for each die you lose. Okay, yeah, I like that.
It gives you, like, more utility.
Yeah, no, I actually like that a lot. I think that that's a really good way to not spoil everybody's good time.
Yeah.
Okay, sick. I really like that.
We're gonna have to create a number matrix for like what the actual derived statistics looks like.
No, we don't. That's not a thing.
And we also have to worry about whether or not if our stock character creation is going to create like very centralized numbers. You know, or whether or not the numbers that it creates are going to be more dispersed. Because if they're very centralized, then we're going to run into this issue a lot. If they're more dispersed numbers, we won't have that issue.
Honestly, I feel like we're going to run into a lot of really centrally dispersed numbers. Like, I don't know, like, the way that we have character creation where, like, you pick, like, a... hang on 1 second.
Yeah.
I just had it here. Yes, like you pick an attribute for each of the provinces. You pick an attribute for yeah, you pick an attribute. Oh fuck, hang on.
Let's go. Hold on.
Okay, so you pick an attribute, rank an attribute for your species, and you pick an attribute for province.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Well, no, but we also have the point buy. Like, you also spend points to buy attribute and dice evolutions too. Like, you get.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So I think that's where it will break things up.
Okay. Well, I was just gonna say, because fuck, if that's the case, a party of 3 is only ever gonna make it to like a D6.
Which is fine on,
inherently true.
and that's fine on character creation if it's low. It should be low numbers, or we should, I don't know, like, we're gonna have to look at the idea of like of creating like an amount of feats or amount of because is it just feats, or, well, no, because we can represent anything as feats, right?
Right.
Maybe it is an item that you found, but we represent it as a feat. Maybe it is so I guess it is feats. We just have to we have to come up with we gotta find a word that encompasses everything.
Cool. No pressure. On that note, I think this might actually be a good place to leave it until next week. I think that this might be something that we should meditate on for the next week and see what we can figure out.
Okay.
But, like, I don't know. I feel like we actually made a pretty good bit of progress here. Like, we revamped the rolling system. We got, like, a good baseline, at the very least, for now, of getting, like, the Caravan dice mechanics out. And we have a good idea of what we need to do moving forward. So I feel like this is a really good place to sort of stop for the night. And, I don't know, and just sort of go from there.
Yeah. Hold on. Anyways, yeah, what were you saying? Because, look at the screen.
I'll grab it!
No, I agree. This is a good place to stop. We can marinate on what we have here, and I don't know, maybe we can get into the idea of, like, trying to put together the character sheet next time on Affinity.
I think that actually sounds tight. Especially, like, I'm really intrigued now with kind of the little sidebar that we had today, like, about what the character sheet's going to look like and what it's going to need to look like.
Yeah.
I think that it makes perfect sense. Like, it's a good place to go to.
Yeah. Okay. That means I just gotta come up with 3 symbols.
No worries.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Well, for those of you watching, which it looks like is no one,
congratulations.
Thank you so much for your time. We'll be back next week, this time around 7 o'clock, and who knows, we may go for more than an hour if we're not both exhausted at that point.
Yeah.
But, yeah, thanks very much, and rip fat clouds.
With a crab.
All 3, baby!
Baby!